The sky was quiet before the storm. Clouds drifted like forgotten dreams. The air held a silence too deep to name. Somewhere beyond the horizon, light trembled. It was not dawn. It was awakening. A pulse echoed through the heavens. A single spark split the endless blue. From that spark, he was born, not from flesh, but from thunder. Not from earth, but from question. They called him Zeus, the Skyscourge, yet even he did not know why. The winds whispered his name in fear and wonder. Below, mortals prayed for calm. Above, the clouds began to stir. Lightning danced like thought made visible. Thunder followed. Slow and certain, the world waited for its first storm to speak. Zeus opened his eyes to the sound of silence breaking. He did not roar. He listened. For in that stillness, between the beats of the storm, he felt something greater than power, purpose. And the sky, for the first time, began to remember. The birth of thunder was not loud. It began as a heartbeat, deep inside the clouds. The world below still slept, unaware. The stars faded, unsure whether to stay or flee. And in the endless sea of mist, something moved. A shimmer, a pulse, a thought forming from light. It was not chaos. It was curiosity. The storm gathered not to destroy, but to know. Each spark searched for meaning in the dark. And then he breathed. A breath that shook the sky without sound. Zeus opened his eyes for the first time. They glowed like molten silver, wide and wondering. He saw nothing, yet he saw everything. The sky itself seemed alive, folding around him. Clouds drifted closer, whispering his name. He did not understand it yet. Zeus. The wind spoke again. A name carried on thunder, shaped by air. He listened. The silence between each echo became sacred. He reached out, touching the space between lightning and light. It hummed beneath his fingers, warm and alive. He smiled, though he did not know why. Somewhere below, a mountain trembled. The sea stirred, sensing something new above. But Zeus did not see them. He was learning to exist. He felt the rhythm of clouds forming and falling apart. He watched lightning dance and disappear. He realized the storm was not around him. It was him. Every spark, every gust, every drop of rain, his breath, his thought, his song. He was not alone. The sky whispered stories older than time. Fragments of memory swirled through the wind. Guardians, said one voice. Creators, said another. Destroyers, murmured a third. Zeus listened to all, unsure which truth was his. He looked down through the mist. The land below was veiled in sleep and shadow. Tiny lights glimmered villages, fires, prayers. He could feel their warmth. He could feel their fear. He wondered if they felt his heartbeat in the thunder. Did they see him as a savior or a storm? He did not know. He only knew he existed between their hope and their dread. The clouds began to part. Golden light seeped through the cracks of night. The first dawn since his awakening arrived. Zeus raised his gaze toward it. The sun touched his skin, and the sky blazed with color. He felt alive in a way the stars could never explain. But along with life came longing. A voice within whispered, "Why are you here?" He could not answer. He tried to speak, but the words became thunder. The sound rippled through the sky, soft yet endless. Below, the sea answered with waves. The wind responded with song. Zeus stood among the clouds, listening. For the first time, he understood something small, yet infinite. The storm was his teacher. The silence was his mirror. He was neither God nor ghost. He was a question waiting to become meaning. And so, he drifted through the morning air. Each cloud he passed greeted him like an old friend. Each ray of sunlight warmed the cold edges of his being. Zeus felt time breathe around him. Moments stretched, folded, disappeared. The sky was his cradle, his kingdom, his companion. And as the world below awoke, he began to wonder, what lies beyond the horizon of heaven? Who calls his name when the thunder fades? He looked toward the farthest edge of light. And there, where the wind met eternity, the storm waited to speak again. The sky stretched endless before him. Zeus drifted among the clouds, silent and awake. Every gust of wind carried a secret. Every shimmer of light whispered a story. He felt the pulse of the world below. It beat steady, fragile, beautiful. He followed the sound of the wind. It led him through corridors of mist and memory. Below the horizon, towers of white shimmered. They floated like islands in the sea of air. The cloud cities of the sky folk, beings of wind and whisper, half dream, half thought. They bowed when he passed, yet trembled when he neared. Skyscourge, they murmured, soft as rain. Zeus paused, unsure of their fear. He spoke not, yet thunder replied for him. The skyfolk lowered their gaze. He wondered why reverence felt so much like loneliness. A child among them reached out. Her hand touched the air between them. Lightning glowed faintly around her fingers. She smiled without fear. Zeus saw purity in her eyes. It was the kind of peace storms longed to protect. But even peace feared what it could not control. The elders approached, robed in cloudlight. Their voices wove together like wind in glass. "Great one," they said. "You are both gift and warning." Zeus tilted his head, unsure of their meaning. They bowed deeper, their words trembling. "You bring the sky's blessing, yet its burden too." The air grew heavy with the weight of prophecy. Zeus said nothing. He listened to their faith, wrapped in fear. Above them, thunder rolled like slow applause. He looked up. 1,000 eyes of lightning blinked across the heavens. He felt their gaze upon him. It was not worship. It was expectation. He drifted higher, away from the voices. The wind followed, asking questions he could not answer. Why does light fear its own brightness? Why do prayers tremble when answered? He wandered beyond the cloud cities. There, the air turned colder, sharper. Mountains pierced the lower mists below. Rivers of silver light flowed between the peaks. He watched them move, alive and ancient. The earth and the sky met in quiet balance. He envied that harmony. Zeus reached down, touching a river's reflection. It rippled and revealed visions of the mortal world. Men toiled beneath the sunday. Women sang lullabies to restless children. Farmers watched the horizon for rain. He saw their eyes look upward to him. They called his name with hope, not in worship, but in longing. They wished for rain, not thunder, for mercy, not might. Zeus felt their hearts like faint sparks. He understood them more than they would ever know. They feared the storm, but needed its touch. He whispered softly to the clouds, "Let them rest. Let them live." The clouds obeyed, drifting gently over the lands. Rain began to fall, tender and slow. Each drop carried warmth, not wrath. The mortals smiled. The world breathed. Zeus watched in silence. He realized power was not command. It was connection. It was the unseen bond between heartbeats and thunder. He turned back to the sky. The wind brushed against him like an old friend. "You are learning," it said. Zeus smiled faintly. Learning? Yes, but still lost. He looked across the horizon once more. Beyond the veil of light, something stirred. A storm darker than shadow, waiting to rise. He felt its call, deep and distant, not of rage, but of destiny. Zeus spread his arms and the sky opened. He flew onward, through sunlight and silence. The sky's secret awaited him, and in its heart, the truth of who he was. The wind grew ancient as Zeus flew higher. The light thinned until only the storm remained. He entered the realm of the elder winds. 4 voices called his name in harmony and echo. They were the council of winds. Boreas, the north wind, stern and silent. Notice, the south wind, warm and wandering. Eurus, the east wind, sharp and restless. Zephyr, the west wind, gentle as dusk. They circled him like a crown of motion. Their presence hummed with power older than stars. "Child of thunder," Boreas spoke first. "Do you seek to rule or to serve?" Zeus said nothing. His silence was the answer of storms. Notus drifted closer. Voice sweet as sunrise. To rule is to carry burden. To serve is to know peace. Eurus laughed, wild as lightning. To rule, to serve. They are the same lie told by time. Zephyr's whisper brushed his ear. To understand the sky, you must listen, not command. Zeus lowered his gaze. The clouds below spun like thoughts unspoken. He felt their wisdom vast, shifting, eternal. Yet he also felt the weight of expectation. The winds watched him, patient but piercing. "Why am I called the Skyscourge?" he asked softly. The question trembled through the air. The four winds grew still. Even thunder dared not answer. Boreas exhaled frost into the silence. Because power frightens those who have none. Notice continued. Because storms remind the world it cannot control the sky. Eurus smiled, his laughter breaking like glass. And because gods forget every gift is a test. Zephyr looked upon Zeus with kindness. You are feared not for what you destroy, but for what you awaken. The words lingered, heavy and light at once. Zeus closed his eyes. He could feel the truth, sharp and luminous. He was not born to dominate the heavens. He was born to understand them. Lightning shimmered through his veins. Slow and calm, he bowed his head to the winds. "I will listen," he said. The council stirred, a current of approval in the air. Boreas nodded. "Then you are wiser than many who came before." Notice smiled, golden and kind. "The sky is a song. Sing, but never silence it." Eurus crackled with mischief. "And when you doubt, let the storm speak for you." Zephyr drifted near, touching his shoulder with wind. "Remember, even calm is part of the storm." Their voices merged into one symphony of sound. The world below glimmered with light. Zeus opened his eyes, and the horizon expanded. He could feel every current, every motion, every whisper. The sky had a rhythm, the heartbeat of creation. He joined it, not as ruler, but as listener. Thunder rolled softly, not as command, but conversation. For the first time, he felt at home in the storm. Yet, within that peace, he sensed a shadow. Far beyond the winds, something stirred unseen. A silence too deep, a stillness too long. It called to him, faint but certain. Boreas noticed his gaze. "The calm beyond the edge," he said quietly. "Beware it." Notice sighed, sorrow in her tone. "Some storms forget how to end." Eurus grinned. "And some calm forgets how to begin." Zephyr whispered, "Balance. Always balance." The council faded, carried away by the endless air. Zeus remained alone among the clouds. But now, the silence felt like guidance, not emptiness. He looked to the horizon. The winds had given him truth, but not peace. He was still the question within the thunder. And somewhere beyond the stillness, the storm waited for its answer. The storm faded into silence. Zeus drifted through a field of light and vapor. The air shimmered with colors unseen by mortal eyes. Every cloud carried memory. Every breeze whispered fragments of forgotten dreams. He moved slowly, without destination, without command. The sky stretched endless, soft as thought. Then he saw it, a single, lonely cloud, small, pale, drifting apart from the others. It shimmered faintly, glowing with quiet warmth. Zeus approached, curious. "Who are you?" he asked, his voice a breeze. The cloud quivered, its edges trembling like laughter. "I am no one," it said softly. "Just a wanderer." Zeus smiled gently. "You are far from the others." The cloud floated closer. "I like the silence here," it whispered. "No one speaks, no one fears." Its voice was light, almost childlike. Zeus listened, his gaze kind and calm. "Do you not miss the sky's chorus?" he asked. The cloud shimmered with a faint sigh. "The sky is loud. It remembers too much." Zeus looked away, feeling the truth in its tone. He too carried memories that thunder could not erase. The cloud continued, its shape shifting like thought. "I watch the world below," it said. "They laugh, they cry, they hope. Do you understand them?" Zeus asked. The cloud paused, then replied, "Not always, but I love them." Zeus felt warmth bloom within his chest. Love the quiet thunder of creation. He gazed below, through the veil of mist. He saw rivers gleaming, forests dancing in the wind. He saw people lifting their faces to the rain, children reaching toward the sky, mothers whispering to sleeping infants, farmers smiling as the fields drank water. Every drop carried a story. Every cloud carried their dreams. The lonely cloud drifted beside him, glowing brighter. "They call you Skyscourge," it said softly. Zeus nodded. "I have heard that name. Do you hate them for it?" Zeus shook his head. "No. I wonder why." The cloud trembled, as if thinking deeply. "They fear what they do not know," it said. "But they also thank you." "For what?" "For the rain. For the light that follows it. For the calm after." Zeus closed his eyes. He could feel their gratitude rising through the air. It touched him more deeply than thunder ever could. "Perhaps," he whispered, "storms are not meant to punish." The cloud smiled through its glow. "Then what are they meant for?" Zeus opened his hand, letting lightning dance across his palm. "To remind the world that even chaos has meaning." The cloud swirled joyfully, painting ripples of gold in the air. "I like that," it said. "Meaning." Zeus watched it spin, gentle and free. "You are small," he said, "yet you carry light." The cloud giggled. "And you are vast, yet still searching." Zeus laughed quietly, a sound that rolled like distant thunder. For the first time, it was a laugh of peace. The two drifted together across the endless blue. They spoke of sunlight and shadow, of wind and wonder, of dreams that drift but never fade. And as they traveled, the lonely cloud grew brighter. Its light touched the edges of the sky. Zeus watched it rise higher, glowing like a new dawn. "Where will you go?" he asked softly. "Where the wind carries me," it answered. "But I'll remember you." Zeus nodded, his eyes gentle as rain. "And I, you." The cloud shimmered one last time. Then it drifted upward, vanishing into the golden mist. Zeus stood alone again, but not lonely. The silence now was kind, not cold. He looked to the horizon and whispered, "Even the smallest cloud can carry the light of heaven." "And somewhere above," the wind answered, soft and eternal. The morning after the golden mist was quiet. The sky stretched wide, pale, and endless. Zeus stood upon the highest current of air. He looked down and saw the world breathing. The rivers shimmered like veins of silver. The forests hummed with 1,000 hidden songs. Everything was alive, yet calm. And for a moment, the god of storms felt peace. But peace, like clouds, is never still. From the farthest edge of the horizon, a shadow stirred. Not darkness, not evil, but doubt. It moved softly, unseen by mortal eyes. Yet Zeus felt it as a tremor in the wind, a whisper that touched the space between thoughts. He listened, and the whisper spoke. "You bring light," it said, "but what of balance?" Zeus frowned, his gaze piercing the clouds. "Who speaks to me?" he asked. The air rippled. The light dimmed slightly. "I am the silence before your thunder," it replied. "I am the calm the world forgets." Zeus stood still, his breath merging with the breeze. He could not see the voice, yet it filled the heavens. "You shake the sky," it continued. "You wake the seas, but the world needs quiet too." Zeus closed his eyes, feeling the truth in the words. "Without storm, there is no renewal," he said softly. "Without calm," the voice answered, "there is no rest." A pause followed, long and deep. The clouds drifted. The light changed its tone. Zeus thought of the lonely cloud, of the laughter it carried. He thought of mortals smiling beneath the rain. "Balance," he murmured. "Perhaps the world seeks not power, but harmony." The wind sighed gently. "Then listen," said the voice, fading like twilight. And just as suddenly as it appeared, it was gone. Zeus stood in silence once more. But the silence now spoke louder than thunder. He turned his gaze toward the earth again. Below, he saw movement, small, fragile, human. A village, built upon green hills. Children running, chasing shadows across the grass. Elders sitting beneath trees, telling stories of the sky. They looked up and smiled as sunlight broke through the clouds. Their joy reached him like warmth upon his skin. He realized then that storms meant more than fear. They meant renewal, connection, rhythm. The people waited for his rain, not with dread, but with hope. They trusted the storm to bring life. Zeus felt a quiet strength rise within him. He was not destruction. He was movement. He was the song between chaos and calm. And though he could shatter mountains with a thought, he chose instead to bring rain gently. A whisper of thunder rolled across the horizon. Raindrops began to fall, slow and tender. The villagers lifted their hands to the sky. Laughter echoed across the fields. Children danced in the rain, their feet splashing in puddles. Zeus smiled. A rare, soft smile that lit the heavens. He whispered to the wind, "Let them feel joy before awe. Let them know peace before storm." The rain grew steadier, cleansing the land with silver light. And as the world below glowed beneath his touch, Zeus realized that power was not in command, but in care. He did not rule the sky, he tended it. The thunder rolled again, gentle as a heartbeat. The light spread wide, infinite, golden. Zeus watched it flow and felt the balance return. He whispered again, his voice blending with the rain. The Skyscourge must also be the skykeeper. The storm answered, soft and true, and the heavens, once fierce and wild, began to hum with peace. Above and below, the world breathed as one. The wind was gentle that day. It carried the scent of rain and something older memory. Zeus drifted high above the mountains, quiet and thoughtful. The world below shimmered beneath a new dawn. Every stream reflected the light of peace he had sown. He watched the people wake with smiles. Farmers stretched their arms toward the Sunday. Children splashed in puddles left by the night rain. The storm had passed, yet its echo remained soft and kind. Zeus felt lighter, as if the sky itself had exhaled. But within that calm, he sensed a calling. It was not of thunder, nor wind, nor wave. It came from the heart of the world itself. A low hum, steady and ancient. He closed his eyes and listened. The sound was alive, vast, eternal. It whispered through the currents of air, through the breath of clouds. "Do you hear us, Skykeeper?" it said. Zeus opened his eyes, his voice calm. "I hear. Who speaks?" The answer rose like music from the earth below. "We are the roots of all things, the pulse beneath creation." Zeus listened, his heart echoing the rhythm. "The world grows," the voice continued. "It breathes with you, but even the strongest sky needs the ground to hold it." Zeus looked down. He saw the forest swaying in rhythm with his heartbeat. He saw oceans moving as if drawn by his breath. He saw balance fragile but real. "Why call to me?" he asked. The voice deepened, calm yet powerful. "Because balance is never still. The world shifts, always. Even peace must be tended as you tend the storm." Zeus nodded slowly. He understood. He had brought calm, but calm must be cared for. Without care, it fades into silence. Without movement, it turns to dust. The voice faded into the hum of the wind. Zeus looked to the horizon once more. There, he saw clouds forming small, uncertain, pale. Not storms, not tempests beginnings. He smiled gently. The world was speaking to him through its rhythm. He reached out his hand and touched the air. Lightning shimmered faintly, soft as silk. Not to strike, but to awaken. A gentle pulse spread through the sky. The clouds glowed with silver edges. Winds stirred, dancing with the new light. Zeus whispered to them, "Grow gently, move with care." The air obeyed, wrapping the world in warmth. It was the kind of storm that sang instead of roared. A lullaby for the living. Below, the people lifted their faces once again. They felt the breath of the storm, but not its anger. They saw light shimmer through the mist, and though they did not know the god above, they thanked the sky with every heartbeat. Zeus smiled again. He realized that power did not come from fear. It came from connection. Every cloud, every wind, every drop of rain was a thread. And he, the keeper, was the weaver. He was not alone, the world sang with him. The trees moved in rhythm. The rivers hummed in reply. The sky itself glowed with a serene brilliance. Zeus raised his hands, not to command, but to bless. "May balance hold," he said softly. "May peace breathe." His words rippled across the heavens. The clouds shimmered, answering his wish. Thunder murmured, not in warning, but in promise. And from horizon to horizon, the sky bowed in light. Zeus stood beneath the arch of eternity, feeling the heartbeat of both storm and stillness. He whispered to himself, "The sky listens, and so must I." The wind carried his words away, across mountains, oceans, and dreams. And somewhere below, the world smiled in its sleep. The day began with light like honey over the sky. The clouds drifted slow, soft as breathing. Zeus stood at the edge of the horizon, silent and awake. The world below glowed with peace he had never known. Birds traced invisible lines through the air. Rivers shimmered, alive with reflection and song. He watched everything move in rhythm. The sky, the wind, the life below. For the first time, the god of storms felt harmony. But harmony, like lightning, flickers before it stays. A new current stirred within the still air. It was not chaos, but curiosity. The winds began to whisper again, carrying questions. They spoke of balance and of time. "Skykeeper," they murmured. "Does the sky live forever?" Zeus looked upward. The question struck gently, yet deep. He had never asked himself that. He had always existed unmeasured, unending. But eternity, he realized, was not stillness. Even the stars burned, lived, and faded. Could the sky itself grow old? He gazed across the horizon where gold met blue. There, he saw clouds forming new patterns, unfamiliar shapes. They pulsed with energy he could not name. "Change," he whispered. "The sky changes too." The realization filled him with awe. He was not just its keeper. He was part of its evolution. The sky was alive, and he, only one note in its endless song. A deep rumble echoed through the heavens. Not thunder, but awakening. From the far reaches of the firmament, a light approached. It was not harsh or burning, it shimmered like memory. Zeus watched it drift closer, slow and graceful. The light took form, not human, not divine, but radiant. "Who are you?" he asked softly. The light pulsed with warmth. "I am the breath between ages." Zeus bowed his head in reverence. "I have felt you before," he said. "In the wind, in the silence." The light shimmered brighter. "And you have listened. That is why you see what others do not." Zeus stood still, his eyes reflecting the glow. "What must I do?" he asked. The voice was calm, timeless. "You must let the sky grow. Not rule it, not shape it. Let it breathe." Zeus nodded, though the thought filled him with uncertainty. He had always been the one who commanded, not surrendered. To let go felt like losing power. But the light spoke again, soft as dawn. "True power is not in control. It is in allowing." Zeus looked up, and for a moment, the sky seemed infinite. Clouds swirled in colors unseen before: silver, amber, violet. The heavens shimmered with movement, endless and alive. He opened his arms, and the light flowed through him. He felt the pulse of every current, every storm yet to be born. The world breathed with him. He realized he was not the master of the sky. He was its witness, its guardian, its student. The light faded slowly, melting into the air, but its warmth stayed in his heart. Zeus whispered to the wind, "Then let the sky grow." The clouds answered with a radiant hum. The air rippled with peace and promise. Below, the world glowed brighter, more vivid than before. Every wave, every leaf, every star seemed to sing. The song of creation, alive and eternal. Zeus smiled, not as a god, but as part of the whole. He felt his essence stretch across the firmament. The sky was no longer something he ruled. It was something he belonged to. He closed his eyes and whispered once more, "The storm was my voice. The silence is my teacher." And as the sun fell behind the clouds, the heavens pulsed with light, alive, infinite, free. Night returned with a quiet grace. The stars unfolded, like whispers on velvet skies. Zeus drifted above the world, surrounded by silence. The calm stretched wide, infinite, breathing. He had seen the day rise, fade, and rise again. But this night felt different, deeper, older. It carried weight, like a story, waiting to be told. The constellations shimmered with meaning he could almost read. He listened, as he always did. And the universe, slow and patient, began to speak. "Skykeeper," said the stars. "Do you remember where the light began?" Zeus turned toward the endless horizon. "I was born of thunder," he answered. "But the light, it was always here." The stars twinkled, laughing softly. "Then, you remember," they said. "You were never alone." Zeus smiled faintly. "No," he whispered, "but I had forgotten." The stars pulsed brighter, as if nodding. "Even gods forget," they said. "That is how they learn." Zeus closed his eyes, the starlight dancing across his mind. He saw flashes of memory storms that shaped mountains, rains that birthed rivers. He saw moments when mortals prayed not for power, but for mercy. He remembered the lonely cloud, the whisper of balance, the call of the earth. Everything connected, every breath of wind, every spark of lightning. He was part of a vast rhythm, a song that had never ended. When he opened his eyes, the stars shimmered closer. "Why do you remind me?" he asked. The stars answered gently. "Because you must teach." "Teach?" he echoed. "What can a storm teach?" "That even chaos has kindness," they said, "and even silence speaks." Zeus listened, and something stirred within him, not power, but purpose. He realized his storms were lessons. Each lightning flash was a truth revealed. Each thunder roll, a reminder to listen. And each drop of rain, a promise of renewal. He looked down at the earth again. Villages slept beneath the moonlight. Rivers glowed like silver threads weaving through the land. The world breathed softly, unaware of the sky's gaze. Zeus felt a tenderness he could not name. This was his creation, not by command, but by care. He had once believed a storm defined him. Now he understood it was his silence that shaped the sky. A comet streaked across the darkness, brilliant and fleeting. Zeus followed its trail with his eyes. It reminded him that even light must travel to be seen. Even gods must move to grow. He whispered to the stars, "That I will teach through stillness." The stars glowed brighter. "And through grace," they said. Zeus nodded. He stretched his arms wide and let the night surround him. The wind moved with him, slow and melodic. The clouds shimmered with faint silver, painting the heavens. He spoke again, his voice deep as eternity. "Let the storms that come after me be gentle. Let their thunder remind the world of peace." His words rippled through the air, carried on starlight. The constellations shimmered, forming shapes of wings and waves. It was as if the universe itself bowed in reply. Zeus smiled, not as a god of wrath, but of wonder. The night accepted his vow, and the stars began to sing. Their song moved through him like a tide. He felt the hum of creation. "Alive and eternal," he whispered softly. "The storm is not the end. It is the beginning." The stars twinkled brighter, their light blending with dawn's first breath. And as the sky shifted from night to light, Zeus felt the world turning gently beneath him, whole, balanced, alive. He closed his eyes, letting the wind carry his thoughts. And for the first time since creation, the Skyscourge rested not in power, but in peace. Morning arrived with golden serenity. The clouds glided softly, painted in gentle amber. Zeus awoke within the sky, his spirit lighter than ever before. The air shimmered, alive with promise and calm. He felt peace not as a god, but as a being reborn. The storm slept. The wind sang in soft harmony. Every sound, every whisper, belonged to the rhythm of renewal. Zeus smiled, feeling the pulse of life below him. The mountains gleamed with dew. The oceans shimmered like mirrors. The world breathed, steady and balanced. He had known chaos. He had mastered power. Now he was learning the strength of stillness. The silence of the morning spoke louder than thunder ever could. He listened, and the sky answered him with light. A radiant wave spread across the horizon. It carried warmth, like a gentle memory unfolding. Zeus raised his gaze and saw the world in motion, yet peaceful. The earth, the sea, and the heavens flowed together like a single melody. He realized that harmony was not the absence of storms. It was the understanding of their place within creation. Every breeze carried a lesson. Every cloud held a purpose. The storms he once feared to end were part of the sky's eternal dance. He whispered to himself, "The storm teaches balance." A soft wind circled him, as if agreeing. It carried the scent of rain, faint and pure. Even peace, the wind whispered, needs rhythm to stay alive. Zeus nodded slowly. "Then let the rhythm continue." The sun brightened, washing the world in light. From the distance came the sound of laughter, human voices. Zeus looked down and saw villages waking. Children ran between fields. Water wheels turned in flowing rivers. He saw joy, not born of worship, but of life. It filled him with something deeper than pride connection. Once, mortals feared the storm as punishment. Now they understood it as renewal. The crops they harvested grew from the rain he had once commanded. The rivers that nourished them flowed from his old tempests. Zeus felt a warmth, unlike lightning, gentle, alive, human. He whispered, "So this is how the sky blesses the earth." The clouds parted slightly, letting the light descend in radiant beams. It touched the trees, the mountains, the waves. Every corner of creation glowed with unity. Zeus felt no need to speak further. The silence between breaths said everything. He drifted higher, carried by a current that felt alive. It was not wind, it was awareness. He sensed the pulse of every element. The heartbeat of the sky echoed through his being. He had once thought himself eternal by might. Now he knew eternity existed through balance. Power fades. Stillness endures. He turned his gaze to the edge of the cosmos. The stars shimmered faintly, waiting for dusk's return. He smiled. Even light must rest. The wind carried his words, spreading them like prayer. Across oceans, mountains, and deserts, the air shimmered. Nature responded not with thunder, but with song. The leaves rustled. The tides moved in rhythm. The sky hummed softly, alive with unseen music. Zeus closed his eyes and listened deeply. The song was not his, it was the universe itself. He understood now. He was no longer the storm. He was the breath between storms, the calm that holds the world steady. He whispered to the wind, "Guard them, always." And the wind replied, "As you have taught us." Zeus felt his essence merge with the air. He no longer stood apart from the sky. He was the sky, infinite, gentle, awake. The morning faded into brilliance. The world moved forward, guided by the balance he restored. And in that moment of stillness and light, the Skyscourge became legend, not of wrath, but of wisdom. A voice carried softly through the heavens. The storm was only a voice, it said. Peace was always the song. Zeus smiled, eternal yet serene. As the sky continued to sing, time drifted like mist across the sky. The world below lived, breathed, and changed. Zeus lingered above the clouds, watching the story unfold. He no longer ruled the heavens, he flowed within them. The sky was no throne, and he was no king. He was the whisper in the wind, the calm before rain. He was presence, unseen but ever felt. Years, centuries, maybe ages passed. Mortals looked to the sky not in fear, but in wonder. They built temples of light, not for worship, but gratitude. Their songs rose with the breeze, carried by peace. Zeus listened, his heart soft with understanding. He had learned that greatness lies in gentleness. That power is not to command, but to guide. The storms came still, but they were no longer wrathful. Each drop of rain fell as a blessing. Each thunderclap spoke of renewal, not rage. The people understood balance had returned. The world no longer trembled at the name of Zeus. It whispered it in reverence. As one speaks of the dawn, he had become more than legend. He had become a promise that even power can learn peace, a promise that chaos can give birth to harmony. Zeus drifted higher, beyond the reach of time. He felt the pull of something vast, the pulse of the cosmos. The stars called to him like old friends. Their light shimmered with memory and melody. He moved through them, weightless and infinite. The constellations bowed in silent acknowledgement. "Skykeeper," they whispered, "your storm has passed." Zeus smiled. "Then let the calm endure." His voice rippled across galaxies, soft but eternal. He passed through ribbons of light, the breath of nebulae. He saw newborn stars blink awake. He felt the heartbeat of creation itself. And he knew his journey was not an ending. It was a transformation. The Skyscourge was never a destroyer. He had always been the guardian of renewal, the keeper of the sky's rhythm. He closed his eyes, feeling the balance of all things, the pull of gravity, the hum of wind, the murmur of light. Every sound was a thread in the fabric of existence. He listened, and the universe seemed to sing his name, not in praise, but in harmony. Zeus whispered back, "I am only part of the song." And the cosmos replied, "Every note matters." He drifted further into the deep expanse. His form faded into light, merging with the eternal. The sky shimmered, as if the heavens themselves smiled. On earth, a soft rain began to fall. Children ran beneath it, laughing. Their joy echoed up to the clouds. Farmers lifted their faces to the gentle drops. Travelers paused, whispering thanks to the sky. None saw Zeus, yet all felt him. He was the warmth in the storm, the hush after thunder, the light that lingered after rain. And in that invisible moment between breaths, the god who once commanded lightning became the soul of peace. The wind carried his final whisper, gentle, eternal. May the sky always remember its calm. The rain eased. The sun emerged, breaking through silver clouds. A rainbow arched across the horizon, vast, timeless, beautiful. It shimmered like a bridge between heaven and earth. The world glowed, alive in harmony once more. Zeus had not vanished. He had become everything: the sky, the rain, the light, the silence. The Skyscourge no longer roared, he sang. His song lived within the wind, the clouds, the stars. And when the night fell again, calm and endless, the universe whispered softly, the storm was never fury. It was love learning to speak. And in that eternal stillness, the sky itself breathed whole, balanced, infinite.